Presenting Edward Heltman is his son, Michael Heltman.
Thank you. I wanted to start by thanking Jesse. In my opinion, Jesse, if this wasn't for you, none of these legends would have received this earned and deserved recognition. So truly, thank you very much. Now on to my dad. Gary told us to have fun with this. Speak from the heart. Walt said to have wisdom, wealth, and wit. My dad is my best friend. Dad and I have shared countless hours and more miles than I care to know when I was growing up playing hockey. During that time, Dad would tell me all about the world of EMS. Some of those stories might have contained individuals in this room, so I won't share names or details, but I always looked forward to those moments. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine getting involved in EMS, let alone being able to be mentored by my father for the last 10 years. Now, we just spend countless hours traveling across the Pennsylvania Turnpike, hoping someone remembers their suitcase. I will never forget the look on my father's face whenever we opened up the trunk and there was just one suitcase in the back. Let alone the front desk staff whenever he just checked in with a phone charger and then inquired about the toothbrush and toothpaste situation. Dad always said there's a difference between like and love. My dad loves EMS. What other individual would use his father's inheritance to purchase 3 ambulances 35 years ago? My dad would. Being in the industry for 10 years and being an accountant, I can tell you must be nuts to get into it, let alone stay in it. But that's the love he has. Life is short. I've cherished every moment and opportunity I had with you and will continue to have with you. However, your story's not done yet. I am so honored to be able to introduce the man, the myth, the legend, my dad, Edward Heltman. Oh, yeah. Warmed you up for you.
Wow. How about you people get in my bedroom? I'm not usually up this early. You're going to hear the word humble a lot today, I think, from the fellow nominees here. It's a great honor. It's humbling. I'm not really sure what I did to deserve this, but I've got to stuff 50 years of EMS into the next 20 minutes, so buckle up, keep your hands inside the car, and hold on, because here we go. Born in Mount Lebanon, moved to Mars, PA when I was 4.5 years old. There weren't a lot of people in Mars in 1961. Product of the Mars Area School District. I am a planet. Now they're fighting planets. We were much less violent. In school, there was no overachiever here, my friends. Others could hit for the fences and get ulcers worried about 4.0s. I'm looking for that C, because a C will get the job done. In school, a year behind me, there's a gentleman, like a student, and he and I guess I would say were hallway, we'd pass each other. His name was Chuck Bowers. And Chuck and I were not friends, pals, didn't hang out. The only thing we really had in common was he drove a 1960s muscle car and I drove a 1960 muscle car. We're gonna come back to Chuck. I graduate from high school, and as you can tell, I wasn't necessarily college material. So I get a job for Chrysler Corporation working in their parts division. And I'm at this job for 3 to 4 months, and I realize I'm working with people that have been there for 10, 15, 20 years. This is a place that people don't leave. It's warm, it's dry, the work isn't too tough. I think I found a home. I'll probably stay here forever. So, a year after I graduate, a friend of mine who was in the class behind me, he graduates and we're at his graduation party, and a gentleman approaches us at the party who was a line officer in the Mars Volunteer Fire Company. And he said, "Hey, you guys are all over 18. How come you haven't put your application in yet to join the fire department?" I don't know. Now, in reality, my older brother joined the fire department when he was in college. And he had been in the department about 9 years. He became an EMT in 1973. My mother was experiencing some health issues, and we had already had to call an ambulance once for her. And I was really impressed the fact these people got out of bed in the middle of the night, because my mother's problems never happened during daylight hours. In the middle of the night, they would come, they would take care of her. And I'm thinking, you know, if they were willing to do that for my family, I should probably be willing to do that for theirs. So we joined the fire department. We were told to go to the August meeting to be sworn in. At that meeting, the fire department secretary reads a note that says there have been 6 seats allocated in the Butler County Community College to the Mars Volunteer Fire Department. If you want to go, talk to the chief. So I said to the chief, I think I'd like to go. The chief said, you're a new guy. We don't spend a lot of money on new guys. Let's see if you stick around. Well, as it turns out, September 1st comes. There's only 4 people have signed up for this class. They liked my brother, so they said, yeah, let's send Ed off. So I go, and in 1975, when you become an EMT in Pennsylvania, they send you this high caliber, high quality cardboard card. And it's just setting that they attest that I have become an emergency medical technician on December the 3rd of 1975. So I really liked the fire service. The camaraderie, the brotherhood, you train together, you eat together. I really liked that. I got very active in that. During the period of 1975 to 1979 in southern Butler County, we sometimes burned big things, and sometimes they burned right to the ground. When we would be having one of those conflagrations, there was some guy showed up with a photographer's vest on, a couple of Nikons around his neck, and a Heltman that said Fire Photo 1. I don't know who this guy is or where he comes from, but he shows up, shoots the fire ground scenes, sends the department some photographs. Nice for him. This makes a real impact on one of the local chiefs who happens to be the president of the Butler County Fire Chiefs Association. He says, for 1979, we need to have that Fire Photo 1 guy come and shoot our annual fire school. So my task at the fire school in 1979 is to be the chauffeur for Fire Photo 1. Now, we ride around for 2 days all over Butler County, and I learned that he's a 3rd-generation volunteer firefighter from Beaver Falls. He works in a camera store, and he's really, really passionate about the emergency services. And he has future aspirations of going on to become an EMT. Fire Photo 1's name, and a couple of people in this room may know the name, is Patrick Moore. So, meanwhile, back at Chrysler, things are going swimmingly. I have been promoted. I've got a new assignment. I've been assigned to a Dodge dealership on Banksville Road, which is scheduled to close at the end of '79, but a new dealership is under construction on Washington Road, and it's going to open in 1980, and when it opens, I'll be the parts manager there. This is terrific work. This is great news. So, November of '79, Chrysler is in the dumper. They announced that they've stopped construction on the new dealership, put the building up for sale. They also notify us that, hey, the dealership you're at now is scheduled to close. It is. Ooh, this is bad. So, I'm unemployed. I find a job at a GM dealership not far from my house in the beginning of 1980. First day there, they're taking me around, introducing me to people. They introduced me to the service manager. His name's Chuck Bowers. I know this guy. Well, over the course of the next couple days, Chuck and I are catching up. Turns out he's an EMT, been volunteering with an ambulance service, and he's in a paramedic program in Beaver County. He tells me that when he graduates from the paramedic program, his goal is to get a job working for an ambulance service as a paramedic. Sure enough, 4 or 5 months later, he puts in his notice, he's gone. He's going someplace in Beaver County, some ambulance service I never heard of called Medic Rescue. December of 1980, the economy's still bad. The owner of the dealership calls all the managers in his office 2 weeks before Christmas and said, I've got to cut costs. This is the worst year I've ever had. I don't know if I'm going to keep the dealership. I'm laying you guys all off. Second Christmas, unemployed. 'tis the season to be jolly. My ass. I'm gainfully unemployed, sitting watching television at my parents' house on January 20th of 1981. I'm just watching Ronald Reagan's inauguration ceremony wrap up. The phone rings. My mom answers. She said, "There's some guy named Chuck Bowers. He wants to talk to you. He sounds really excited." Okay, Chuck, what's going on? "Ed, you're not going to believe this. I got a new EMT partner today, and he knows you. We can't believe that we both know you." "Well, who's your partner?" "Pat Moore." "Huh?" "Yeah, Fire Photo One. We're working together. We couldn't believe that we both know you, and we said when we get to the hospital, we have to call Ed." Chuck knew about what had happened at the dealership, and he said, "We have a third rider program here. Come ride with us. I think you'll find it fascinating. So much different than Butler County." So 3 days later, I'm in the back of a medic rescue ambulance bouncing around Beaver County. That led to me going to medic rescue, getting a job. I become a paramedic in 1982, and I'm there in Beaver County till 1985. In 1985, Butler Hospital was starting a dual response paramedic program, and Mr. Vern Smith was the director, and I don't know if Vern is in the room today, but if you are, shout out to you, Vern. Thank you, my friend. A great honor and opportunity to work there. I was there until 1987, when another service for Beaver County, there were two at the time, contacted me about being a manager for a non-emergency interfacility ambulance station that they were planning on opening. The opportunity was attractive. 3 months after that station opened, I was called by the Evans City Fire Chief. He tells me he's got 3 EMTs in his service. 2 of them are unemployed guys that just got hired by Henrico County, Virginia. And they're leaving. And they need coverage, and he wants to know if we take over their service area. That led to a second station in Butler. Meantime, the 2 board of directors of the 2 services in Beaver County are talking. They decide to merge, and they create one service operating under the name of Medic Rescue. When that occurs, I was selected as the director of operation. That brought me in contact with a gentleman by the name of Pat Sharon. And Pat became my mentor. I learned almost everything I know about ambulance service finance from Pat. I say with pride, I am a graduate of Sharon University. Pat eventually, not just a mentor, but he became a friend. And sadly, Pat passed away last June. So I'm now the director of operations of this combined entity. And within about 6 to 7 months, the gentleman that had been hired to be the vice president and general manager of this new combined service had a dust up with the board of directors, a misunderstanding. And suddenly there was a vacancy. The day after the vacancy occurred, I was contacted by Pat and asked if I would have any interest in being the new vice president and general manager. And I did. At that point, Medic Rescue had about 170 employees operating out of 8 stations in 3 counties and responding to about 100 ambulance transports and requests a day. At the end of 1989, there was a rumor, a buzz in the EMS world that there was going to be a frontal assault from an ambulance service from Allegheny County against Medic Rescue countywide in Beaver. Initially, that was just dismissed as lunacy and just BS. Immediately after the new year, I was summoned to Pat's office, and he tells me he's talked to a few real estate agents over the holidays, and in fact, there are properties being shown, and this wasn't just lunacy and BS, this was a real thing. So he immediately tells me that we are not in any position to go to war. I'm given explicit directions. Don't buy anything, including paper clips, without his permission, and B, go close every station that's outside of Beaver County. Now, in 2 of the locations, we had direct competitors, so that didn't really take a lot of work. It was a matter of calling the competitor and asking if they would mind if we left town. Their response was, no, do you need boxes? Help packing? Can I hold the door for you? The third, though, was this place called Evans City. I can't find anyone that's interested in that. And most of the services at that time in the area were still volunteer fire-based, and they were worried about how they were going to cover their own areas, let alone expansion. Month after month, I go to the board. They'd grill me. How are we coming with that Evans City? No luck. Finally, after the April meeting, Pat called me and said, you live in that area. Have you ever thought about having your own ambulance service? Well, the answer was no. And he said, well, I've done the numbers, and I think a small service with low overhead could probably make a go of it there. You should give that some thought. And my response was, Pat, other than not having any equipment or any money, I don't see any obstacles, do you? June, I get a call from a bank loan officer that has just repossessed 3 ambulances, and they would like to know if Medic Rescue would be interested. We are not interested. The guy goes on to tell me they're 3 years old, they've got less than 60,000 miles, and there's only 10 payments left. Still not interested. Well, take my name and number. Not interested. No, take my name and number. So finally, to get the guy off the phone, I take his name and number, write it on a Post-it note, and put it on the blotter of my desk. The end of August. My father's health has really declined over this year, and he passes away at the end of August. The death is not unexpected, it's not a shock. My brother and I, in anticipation of this inevitability, have pretty much put his affairs in order. So by the end of September, the attorney calls and says, guys, your dad's estate's wrapped up. Whatever money's left in the bank, split it between the 2 of you. I now have enough money to buy these 3 ambulances. I don't know why I'm being drawn to do this. I liked what I was doing. In fact, it was really kind of probably the best job I could think of. But I'm drawn to do this thing of buying ambulances. So I called the bank, still available. Yes, they would be willing to negotiate a little in the price. Called Pat. Pat says, if you do this, we'll do 2 things for you. You drive those ambulances through Beaver County on the way home to Evans City. He said, we have a lot of equipment laying around down here. We will stock them for everything you need to get into operation. And they did. Radios, hardware, cardiac monitors. So on November the 26th of 1990, at 8 in the morning, Pat Sharon joined me in the station in Evans City. We had a cup of coffee, shook hands, and Medic Rescue ambulances pulled out, and 3 blank ambulances with no name on them were backed in by 9 new employees, 3 full-time paramedics, 6 part-time EMTs. Since then, we've obviously grown some. It's been an interesting ride. A lot of credit goes to the many people that have worked for me over the years, past and present, because they've all lent something to building the company. Now, I was always puzzled by what happened in that interval of time between January and November. How did that all happen? I didn't have anything to do with it. There was a greater power involved. There was something else. I just could never put my finger on it, though. But I go back to last year. Knox began his speech with, the 2 greatest days of a person's life are the day you're born and the day you discover why you were born. So, I'm puzzled over this. Sadly, in July of 2019, my friend Chuck dies. I'm sitting in his funeral, looking around the room. All these people that I have worked with, some were former partners on the ambulance, some were former co-workers, people that I met through that position, and it struck me. Yes, there was something involved in my life. I just didn't recognize it. God had a plan for me a long time ago. If I don't meet Chuck Bowers in high school and run into him 6 years later at a car dealership, if I don't meet Pat Moore on the fire ground And he ends up working with Chuck Bowers on January 20th of 1981, and they are not so moved to call me on an impulse. I never go to Beaver County. I never go to Beaver County. I never become a paramedic. I never meet the woman who is the mother of my 3 children. I might have had other children, but I wouldn't have had these 3 children. I meant that in the most flattering way. I never meet Pat Sharon, my mentor. I certainly never own an ambulance service. And finally, I would never be standing before you today. So, my point to this is, everyone has a purpose. You were put here with a unique gift to do something. You need to find your purpose. I didn't look for my purpose. My purpose sort of backed in and found me. And I thank you very much for your time.